Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Supreme Court strikes down the Electoral Bonds Scheme as unconstitutional. Parliamentary Committee asks the government to strengthen critical digital infrastructure. Department of Telecommunications has unveiled the Sangam Digital Twin Initiative. A report has been released by IBBI's Expert Committee on Framework for Use of Mediation under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Public Accounts Committee has presented a report titled Pollution Caused by Plastic in Parliament. NITI Aayog unveiled the Greening and Restoration of Wasteland with Agroforestry report. Starting with the first news. Supreme Court strikes down the Electoral Bonds Scheme or EBS as unconstitutional. Supreme Court in its order ruled that the anonymous electoral bonds are violative of the right to information under Article 19 Clause 1A. The Supreme Court also quashed the amendments made to the Income Tax Act and the Representation of People Act 1951, which made the donations anonymous. Additionally, the amendments to Companies Act 2013 provision allowing unlimited corporate contribution is arbitrary and violative of Article 14. Let's also now discuss and understand about electoral bonds or EBS. Finance Act 2017 introduced the Electoral Bonds Scheme that allowed corporations and individuals to anonymously donate money to political parties by purchasing electoral bonds from the SBI. Electoral bonds are interest-free bearer instruments like promissory notes with 100% tax exemption. They are issued in multiples of Rs 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore. A citizen of India or a body incorporated in India is eligible to purchase the bond. EBS was proposed as a measure to address the lack of transparency in political parties' funding and curbing black money. If we talk about the issues related to EBS, then as per RBI, shell companies may misuse bearer bonds for money laundering transactions. Also, unlimited and anonymous corporate funding infringes the principle of free and fair elections.
Moving on to the next news. The Parliamentary Committee asked the government to strengthen critical digital infrastructure. Before we start, let us talk about the critical digital infrastructure. It refers to the computer systems and networks that are crucial for the functioning of the society and economy. It includes systems used in areas like healthcare, transportation, finance, and utilities. Coming back, let us talk about the committee's report. 373 government websites were hacked in the past 5 years from 2018 to 2023. Low recovery rate, that is 10.4% of the transactions reported over the last 3 years from 2020 to 2022. Other issues have also been highlighted, which includes money laundering by fintech and biometrics cloning. Few recommendations have been given by the committee to overcome these issues, such as multi-pronged approaches with effective coordination of all stakeholders have been recommended to deal with cyber frauds. The rationalization of micro ATMs and banking correspondence in hotspots have also been recommended. Further moving on, let us talk about the existing framework of cybersecurity. The National Cybersecurity Framework 2013. Under it, the National Security Council Secretariat is responsible for coordinating, overseeing and ensuring compliance with cybersecurity policies. Additionally, few legislative measures like the Information Technology Act 2000. The dedicated agencies like the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team acts as the national agency under the Section 70B of the IT Act for Cybersecurity, like the Computer Security Incident Response Team, Finance Sector under CERT in. Lastly, the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center or NCIIPC, nodal agency in respect of the critical information infrastructure protection.
Moving on to the next news. Department of Telecommunications has unveiled the Sangam Digital Twin Initiative. This initiative is a proof of concept focused on revolutionizing the planning and design of infrastructure. It aims at combining the prowess of digital twin and artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5G, 6G and next-gen computational technologies. It brings all stakeholders on one platform to demonstrate practical implementation of innovative infrastructure planning solutions. It is to be conducted in one of the major cities of India in 2 stages, that is exploration stage and demonstration stage. If we talk about digital twin, then it is a virtual model designed to accurately reflect a real-world physical object. It spans the object's life cycle and uses real-time data sent from sensors to simulate the behavior and monitor operations, thus helping decision-making. Digital twins differ from simulations in its large-scale and two-way flow of information. Digital twins are already being used in power generation equipment, large physical structures, manufacturing operations, healthcare services, and automotive industry. Further, if we talk about the significance of digital twins, then these include remote monitoring, making it viable for usage in hazardous operations, better predictions helping in policy decisions, improvement in operational efficiency, thereby maintaining the output quality, and aid in urban planning by creating different simulations and forecasting. Recently, a private company has created a digital twin of Hyderabad's 16th century Qutub Shahi tombs using drone scanners. The site includes 7 tombs dedicated to the former kings of Golconda. They resemble Persian, Pathan, and Hindu architectural styles that make use of grey granite with stucco ornamentation. It is a one-of-its-kind place in the world where the whole dynasty is buried at a single spot.
Moving on to the next news. Report by IBBI's Expert Committee on Framework for Use of Mediation under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 was released. An expert committee was constituted by the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India with T.K. Vishwanathan as chairperson to examine the scope of using mediation in various processes under the IBC 2016. Currently, there are no specific provisions for mediation of insolvency and bankruptcy disputes under IBC. Now let us first start by understanding what is mediation. Mediation is the use of a neutral third party to facilitate the negotiated settlement of a dispute between two or more parties. Typically, the process of mediation is initiated by mutual consent of the parties, or pre-agreed contracts, or court reference or law-mandated requirement. Now let us further get to know about the mediation framework in India. The Mediation Act 2023 aims to facilitate mediation, especially the institutional mediation. Provisions in other legislations have been made, such as the Civil Procedure Code 1908, the Companies Act 2013, the Commercial Codes Act 2015, the Consumer Protection Act 2019. Lastly, India is signatory to the Singapore Convention on Mediation. If we talk about the advantages of the mediation process, it preserves party autonomy, it is flexible, time efficient, cost efficient, and it is largely a predictable process, preserves business relationship, is confidential, and lastly is party driven. Lastly, few recommendations have also been provided by the Committee for the Improvement. Phased introduction of voluntary mediation as a dispute resolution mechanism under IBC can further benefit the process. The Centre may by rules prescribe structure of insolvency mediation framework with specifying categories of mediable disputes. It has also been recommended to IBBI to specify procedures for conduct of mediations and their enforcement. Lastly, the cost for mediation should be borne equally between parties or as mutually agreed.
Moving on to the next news. Public Accounts Committee has presented a report titled Pollution Caused by Plastic in Parliament. The committee examined the plastic waste management in the country and related issues. Let's start by first understanding and discussing about the concern raised. There is inadequate disposal and utilization as most of the total plastic waste in the country remains unutilized, which leads to pollution of air, water and soil and ultimately affects human health. There is also a governance issue because of the non-compliance of Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, latest notified in 2023, mainly related with the extended producer's responsibility. Lackadaisical approach of Central Pollution Control Board and SPCBs or PCCs allowed the plastic units to function without valid registrations. Also, there is a lack of mechanism for assessment of generation of plastic waste. If we talk about some other issues, then these include improper collection and segregation, delay in elimination of single-use plastic, and poor monitoring by urban local bodies. Further now, let's have a look at the key recommendations of the committee. The committee's key recommendations include mandating the online reporting of data on the national dashboard, coupled with proof of photo or video and GPS location. Additionally, they emphasize the need for a comprehensive policy to address pollution stemming from plastics, along with the implementation of penal provisions for urban local bodies failing to establish plastic waste management systems. Furthermore, they suggest involving rag pickers and junk dealers to enhance the efficiency of waste segregation and collection processes. There have also been some initiatives taken for tackling plastic waste. These are Project Replan, which stands for Reducing Plastic from Nature, Promotion of Circular Economy, EPR Portal for Plastic Packaging, Swachh Bharat Mission, and Lifestyle for the Environment Movement.
Moving on to the last news for the day. NITI Aayog unveiled the greening and restoration of wasteland with agroforestry report. First, let us start by discussing about the report presented. The report emphasizes on the potential of converting wastelands into productive agroforestry zones. It employed remote sensing and GIS techniques to evaluate the suitability of agroforestry practices across all districts of India and introduced an Agroforestry Suitability Index or ASI for national level prioritization. The NITI Aayog has also launched the Grow Suitability Mapping Portal on Bhuvan, which is a geoportal of ISRO for ensuring universal access to state and district level data. Now, talking about the wastelands, they are the lands which are unproductive, unfit for cultivation and grazing, and for other economic uses. According to the Wasteland Atlas of India 2019, the wastelands constitute of 16.96% of geographical area of India in 2015 to 16. Further talking about the agroforestry, it is a collective name for land use systems where trees are managed together with crops and/or animal production system in agricultural settings. At present, the agroforestry covers about 8.65% of India's total geographical area. The agroforestry have further three main types, namely the agri-silviculture systems, which are a combination of crops and trees, the silvopastoral systems, further combining forestry and grazing of domesticated animals on pastures or on farm. Lastly, the agro-silvopastoral systems, where trees, animals and crops can be integrated. Now, let us come on to the significance of agroforestry. Agroforestry mitigates climate change through the microclimate moderation and carbon sequestration. It further enhances productivity, soil fertility, and conserving soil. Lastly, it optimizes the use of arable land. Lastly, let us talk about the initiatives taken by the Indian government for agroforestry. These are National Agroforestry Policy in 2014, the submission on agroforestry under the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture. Moreover, the agroforestry component under Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. Lastly, India joined the Bond Challenge pledges to bring into restoration 13 million hectares of degraded and deforested land by the year 2020. The place in news for today is Qatar with its capital Doha. It is in news recently as the Prime Minister of India has met with the Emir of Qatar in Doha. Talking about its political features, it is situated in West Asia on the west coast of Persian Gulf. It shares its land borders with Saudi Arabia and maritime border with UAE and Bahrain. Its bordering water bodies are the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Bahrain. Talking about its geographical features, it occupies Qatar Peninsula, which is a small desert peninsula extending northwards from the larger Arabian Peninsula. Its highest point is Abu al-Bal Hill. The sand dunes and salt flats or subkhas are its chief topographical features. Lastly, it does not consist of any permanent bodies of fresh water.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. Japan recently slipped to the world's fourth largest economy. USA, China, Germany are the top three largest economies in the world, while India is ranked as fifth largest. The comparisons among nations' economies is based on nominal GDP and are in dollar terms. Artificial intelligence integration in e-Jagriti portal is expected to help in reducing pending cases in consumer court. e-Jagriti portal is a unified platform that caters to the needs of all stakeholders in the consumer grievance readdressal mechanism. It streamlines and enhances various stages of case management. Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India Limited 19th Foundation Day was recently celebrated. It is a Mini Ratna Category 1 company of Government of India. Public sector units which have made continuous profit in the last 3 years with pre-tax profit of Rs 30 crores or more in at least one of the years are granted Mini Ratna 1 status. It works under the Ministry of Finance. Cochin International Airport Limited and BPCL are setting up world's first green hydrogen plant at airport premises. The plant aims to produce 1000 kilowatt of power and add impetus to country's green hydrogen mission. Green hydrogen refers to the hydrogen produced by electrolysis of water with electricity generated by renewable energy. Species Threat Abatement and Restoration Metric or STAR metric, developed by International Union for Conservation of Nature in partnership with other organizations and experts, has been expanded for use in marine areas. It was first unveiled in 2021 for use in terrestrial areas. The STAR metric utilizes existing data from IUCN Red List of threatened species to quantify extinction risks and threats faced by species. SpaceX launched a private US moon mission 52 years after the last Apollo lunar mission. The Intuitive Machines Mission 1 flight is carrying lander Nova C and 6 NASA payloads of instruments designed to gather data about the lunar environment. It will attempt to soft land near Moon's south pole at Malapert A crater. Between 2021 and 2023, H5N1 has wiped out a significant bird population in the United Kingdom. H5N1 is a type of influenza virus that causes a highly infectious, severe respiratory disease in birds called avian influenza or bird flu. H5N1 is categorized as one of the highly pathogenic avian influenza viruses. India has rejected the demand for data exclusivity provision in the Free Trade Pact with European Free Trade Association bloc. This decision has been taken to protect the interest of domestic generic drug manufacturers. Data exclusivity is a form of intellectual property protection that applies specifically to data from pharmaceutical clinical trials. Generic drug manufacturers cannot apply for regulatory approval for equivalent drugs relying on the originator's data for a specified number of years. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.